Welcome. Today we're speaking with Vince Reardon, author of the new book, The Pocket Mentor, Insider Tips from America's Most Successful People. What good advice did you hear from people in your book?
A lot of good advice, but one thing that I heard over and over again was, it's great to be yourself. That was one of the primary pieces of advice I got. But secondarily, they said, it's also important to be for others. If you want a happy life, you've got to be for others. In some way, try to make a difference in someone else's life through volunteerism, through coaching, through mentoring. Try somehow to brighten someone else's day, not just your own. And if you do that, the people that I interviewed said, you're going to be a lot happier than not.
Do you have someone in mind?
There are many people in the book that I could pull from, but one of the people that is most memorable is Ricardo Cobe Williams. Now, Ricardo Cobe Williams comes from the mean streets of Chicago. He grew up in the hood, and he got involved in gangs at an early age. During his career in gang life, he spent 3 stints in prison. When he got out of prison the 3rd time, he decided he was going to change his life, which is not easy to do, because the gang was all he knew. It was his family. It was his employment. It was his future. But he decided after the 3rd stint in jail that he was going to leave gang life. Now, this is the thing. He had no education. He had no marketable skills. He had no employment opportunities. He had nothing to go to. So leaving gang life was not an easy choice, but he chose to go another way. One night, he was watching TV, and there was a segment on the news about a new organization in Chicago called Ceasefire. It's now called Cure Violence. But the news segment talked about this organization, very unique. They were violence interrupters. Now, this organization didn't use the police. It used former gang members to go into the streets, to go into the homes, and to get in between gang members who were beginning to get into arguments and get into fights. This had never been done before, where you're actually sending former gang members. In fact, some of these members started the gangs years ago, so they have incredible street cred. And they go into the streets, they go into the homes, and they talk to gang members, and they talk them down, encouraging them not to resort to violence to resolve their differences. Now, this is highly effective in some of these neighborhoods. They've shown that gun violence has gone down by 40 to 70%, depending on the neighborhood you choose.
What does Cobe do that's so effective?
What Cobe does that is so effective is that he has this enormous street credibility. And when a young gang member is sitting opposite him and he's telling them, look, I've done this for 10, 15, 20 years. It doesn't work. I've spent 3 stints in prison. You've got to try something else. And let me tell you what you should try. You should talk out your differences. It's very, very effective to a young gang member. And that's what I find most moving about Cobe, is that he is a father figure to hundreds of young men in Chicago. And the irony is he didn't really have much of a father. His mother was a drug addict, and his father was a former gang member himself that he had spent very little time with. And yet Cobe Williams is a father figure, an effective father figure to many, many men who really don't have a father. So he's very effective, and he exemplifies this value of being for others, which so many of the people in my book said, it's a value you can take to the bank.
Thank you, Vince.